Well, it's the week before Christmas, and I hope you're done with your shopping. If not, you got about 6 days left. Well, hi there. My name's Charles Ray Dawson. I'm an associate broker residential sales manager at ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, episode 254. Had to think about that one for a second. So, hope you guys are all doing good. If you hear some weird noise in the background, it's the ice machine that we picked up. It's over in the corner. Great little piece of kit. We got it back in the days when we were trying to do more team building things here, and we decided, hey, we need an ice machine for all this alcohol we're drinking. So we picked it up. Never got to use it, and then next thing you know, the broker decided we were doing a little bit too much team building and not enough out on the streets shaking our moneymaker for fun and profit. So he's like, all right, no more of that. But we still had the ice maker. So we did have a office authorized Christmas party yesterday. So we pulled out that ice machine, and it takes about a half gallon of water, and it just keeps making ice. So I'm trying to run it out so we can put it up for the season and whatnot. And it's just, so if you hear anything, it's just that. So I hope you guys are doing good. This is the week before Christmas. Next episode is actually on Christmas Day, so we're going to do one of those little fillers just to keep the tradition up. Don't know what I'm going to do about that. At some point this morning, I thought I should do the entire Linus soliloquy from the Peanuts Christmas special, you know, with the hat and the blanket and everything like that. And I just realized if I was going to do that, I need multiple cameras to get it right. And there's a continuity. There's a continuity problem in that scene. Find it online, go watch it, and see if you can pick out the continuity scene and then leave it in the show notes below. See that little bit right there? That's what professional YouTubers are supposed to do. Always giving you a reason to comment, like, share, subscribe, come back to it. Try to get that community of going. You know, you guys all know each other. You know, you're enough of a community. So, all right. So let's talk about, we're wrapping up, getting really close to the end of the week. I need to actually check something really quick because today is the 18th, and we have, wow, next week is going to be Christmas. The week after that is going to be New Year's. So what we're going to do is there will be a New Year's show, and it will probably be like a 2025 wrap-up. And then the week after that, we'll do what we think 2026 is going to be. You know, I'm feeling froggy about 26, all right? I am, however, asking all my agents, was 25 everything you thought it was going to be? Did you achieve what you wanted to achieve? How do you feel about that? What would you do different if all of a sudden you woke up and it's January 1st, 2025, and you had to repeat this entire year? All right. And really go down deep into that, people. I mean, it's like, look more towards what you failed to do or could have done better and less of how the universe responded to you. And hopefully a couple agents will figure that out. It's like, wow, I could have done this. I could have done that. I should have done this. I should have done that. I was supposed to do this, and I didn't do any of it. So January is also where I go into my own personal month of suckitude, because I got, end of the year, man, I ask myself these questions. Everything I could have done in 25, how did I do? And it's just, these are all the things I did not accomplish. Where are the good things? Oh, these are the great things that happened. How did those great things happen unto thee? And then I get through that, and then right about then I get my 1099 form from the office, and then I find out exactly how I did or didn't do. And that tends to be a little bit depressive because I'm always inner reflecting on my failures. Then, right at the end of the month, just as I start feeling okay about life, then you have that birthday. And then you get to sit there and consider your entire freaking life. All right. And after the birthday, it's like, oh God, I'm going to be 55 next month. So, and actually it got worse because I was having a conversation with somebody. It's like, about the VFW post. Like, yeah, I want this post to be here when I'm 70. And I realized that's only 15 years out. These are the reasons I drink. So, let's see. But Christmas caroling and all that good stuff. Army-Navy game is over. Navy beat Army, but more importantly, the United States Marine Corps beat the 82nd Airborne in drinking. Yeah, we won. We took casualties, but we won. In the end of the day, we were triumphant. We all have serious case of cirrhosis right now, but we still won. All right. So let's talk news-wise. Got another quarter point. I just found out this morning that the inflation numbers that came out, they were projecting to see them anywhere between 2.9 and 3.4, depending on who the person forecasting it was, and it came in at 2.7, which is really good, way under expectations, going in the right direction. We're also going to be looking to see, numbers should be coming out here real shortly to see what our GDP growth is. All right, they're projecting we might be able to get 3% next quarter, if not at the end of this quarter. These are all relatively good things. And as I sit there and I ask my agents, hey, how was your year? How did you feel about the year? And then, what's your thoughts for next year? Everybody said that it was a really suck year, really bad. They feel like it was a bad year. And then I'd ask them, do you think it was better than 24? And they're like, oh no, it was even worse than 24. And that's sort of that human thing your brain does, is like, yeah, past suffering isn't as traumatic as most recent suffering, even though the past stuff was better. You put it in context of I survived that. So little flash of light distracted me. But actually, 2025 was a better year, statistically, than 2024, for real estate at least. Things are moving in the direction they need to move. And that's when this little article popped up, using the term Vibecession. All right? This gentleman is a numbers cruncher, is an economist, all right? His name is Jeff Tucker. He did not quote that term himself. He actually stole it from somebody else and gave that person credit. But what he's stating is, hold on for just a second. What he's stating is, even though we weren't in a recession, and remember, guys, whether or not it is a recession is directly correlated to which party is currently holding the White House. If a certain party is holding a White House, a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of under 2% GDP growth. Not necessarily negative. It just has to be underneath 2%. 2 consecutive quarters becomes a recession. If the other party is in the White House, a recession is always going on. All right. Basically anything even remotely close to 2%. All right. I remember way back in like the early aughts watching some bow-tied wearing bespectacled geek on CNN talk to you very earnestly. It's like, yeah, well, technically, the original term is it being 2%, under 2% for 2 consecutive quarters. But when we take on the amount of spending and this and that and the other thing, and the person who's in the White House, and we only had 2.4% when we were projecting to have 2.7, we are actually in a physical recession, even though the numbers do not support it. This is why we need to vote that man out of office. So, one of those really little things, those little things that happen in my life that stick in my brain, and it's there freaking forever. It's like when I was 15 years old and one of the news stations talked about how Texas had gone to a shall issue concealed carry state or something like that. And the entire news article was talking about how all the babies and nuns were going to get massacred by these new guns. And I responded what I thought was quite logically at the dinner table going, but has anybody died yet? And that wound up having me in a conversation with my father about the importance of an independent press, and that you actually do want an independent press that is somewhat adversarial to whoever is on the White House. I'm more of the line of like, I would like them to shut the fuck up and tell me, all right, what's going on, and leave their damn freaking pinhead opinions out of my news. And I still think that way. But I'm going to be 55 next week, and so or next month, and I'm going to go full on crotchety old man. All right, back in my day, Walt Cronkite, we knew he was a pinko, but he still tried to be fair and honest. Nowadays, we got these little Nick-Fuentes out there with a little buck facing a little thing. Well, your problem, Mr. Boomer, is... God, wow. This is what happens when I only have one cup of coffee, right? I'm easily spun up. So, anyways, I'm not here to talk about how much the press sucks. You guys all know who the press sucks. And if you don't like the way the press is telling you news, just go change to your favorite news station, and they will tell you everything you need to know in ways that you want to hear. And they will keep you in your soft, warm, cuddly cocoon of lies. But you'll feel better. This is not that podcast. This podcast is going to tell you that we had a vibe session. A vibe session is you felt like it was a recession, but it actually wasn't. All right? But people, because they're sitting there going, I don't feel good about everything. Every time I turn on the news, it's nothing but drama and this and that and the other thing. We must be in a recession. No, you're just spun up. All right? You're experiencing anxiety. All right? Go talk to a freaking therapist about that. Remember, depression is you thinking about the past and feeling bad. Anxiety is you thinking about the future or present and feeling bad. All right? So, where are we going going into 2026? What's my opinion? Notice I don't do those big, Ouija board, prophecies of what I think the real estate market's going to be doing next year. Because, 23 and 24 pretty much burned me out on that. But what I will say, all right, is that people are going to buy houses. People are going to sell houses. And this is what I'm trying to tell my agents. If 2026 is an exact duplicate of 2025, what are you going to do? If it's exact duplicate of 2024, what are you going to do? What is your business going to be like? If we don't get Santa Claus stuffing down a 4.5% interest rate next week? Why are you living this passive life where you're just sitting there waiting for your moment? Oh, when everything special just happens, then I'll make my move. Well, what's going to happen is that special thing is going to happen and you're going to choke. You're going to sit there going, well, maybe this isn't quite it. Maybe this isn't quite, maybe I'm just not quite ready. All right. I literally talked to a buyer and seller team last night. All right. These guys are they want to sell one house and they want to buy one house, but they are trying to get best of both worlds. They want the seller's market where they can sell their house and live in it for 6 months, while they take advantage of the buyer's market and go out there and get a great deal on the buy side. You can have one or both. All right. But we're in a buyer's market, which means if you need to sell that place to get in a position to be the buyer, well, I had 3 lines pop into my head, and I cannot say any of them because this is supposedly a family-friendly thing, all right? But, can't say it that way either. Ooh. Yeah, okay. Insert your own little mental image right here, okay? But if you want to be a seller in a buyer's market, it's going to be rough. All right. But once you're done with that, then you can go out and use that energy on the buy side. So, but we're sitting here, we're looking at the upcoming, and what if 2026 is exactly the same? You don't think we're going to have mean tweets? You don't think we're going to have something blow up or get blown up or whatever? We're going to have the same drama next year that we had this year. Right? This whole Vibecession thing is about how people felt like it was a bad real estate market. Agents felt like it was a bad real estate market. It feels like it's a bad real estate market because it's not 2021. Back when your daughter left her Barbie dream house out on the front yard and she had 3 cash offers on it by the end of the day. All right? Those days are never coming back. Hopefully. Because you guys don't really realize how bad that was for people who don't own houses, ones who weren't ready to go in 2021. Right? Because those people who weren't ready to go in 2021, well, they're priced out a lot of housing right now. Right? We always forget about them, or at least you guys do. All right. But other thing that popped up this week, and this is one of those me smile, nod my head, and somebody goes, "Why aren't you taking this as seriously as I did?" It's like, because I literally was podcasting about this 2 freaking years ago when you guys all looked at me and said I was weird. Yes, some pinhead wrote an article about how there's an entire tranche of homeowners out there who are locked into their house because of their interest rates. Yeah, called it. So don't expect me to get worked up about it. I was worked up about 2 years. I've moved on, all right? There are other things for me to get worked out about. That's not it. How are we going to deal with the reality that we have in front of us? All right? So this is the lesson I'm trying to teach my agents this week with varying degrees of success. So this is what I'm trying to tell you, all right? If 2026 is exactly the same way in your life as 2025, right? And I'm talking... in 1 hour, people are going to come in here and want to talk to me about a book that I really hate reading. Come show up, and you guys wonder why I did that? It's because my phone flashed over here to remind me of that. I hope you guys see that. Otherwise, I'm just suddenly spastic all over the place. There is outside input happening. If people need to work with what they got, okay, plan for the future, all right? Plan for, hey, you know what? China might kick off early. I know they're planning, they've stated that their end goal is to have their military ready to invade Taiwan by 2026. What happens if they realize, crap, the U.S. keeps this defense spending at the way they do? We might not be, we might be ready to go in 2027, but they're better. They'll be better positioned. So let's kick off now. Right. So, want to talk anxiety? Why don't you be anxious about that? So, especially when you realized when they decided to go in 2027, they were literally expecting to be wandering into the second term of Joe Biden or the first term of Kamala Harris. Nobody expected Trump to come back. So, look, just take that in mind. Their plans for 2027 was for the Democrats to be in the White House. So they might go, all right, I ain't going to do it. Or they might say, well, we still want to do it, so let's do it now. And what do you think that's going to do to, your housing costs? I have no idea. All right, that's a black swan event. We'll deal with that if it happens. So, where are we at right now so you can know what we're coming in? And these might be the last numbers you see this year. So, our numbers as of this point in time, actually yesterday point in time, actives were 23,395. They're down 481 from the previous week. New listings were 1,439, down 294. Contracts were 1,891, down 12. Closings were 1,596. And coming soon to an MLS near you is 480 new listings. Our supply is at 101.3. Do not let anybody tell you, oh, we don't have enough supply. We are exactly where we need to be. All right? What we need to do is we need to work on the demand side. The demand is actually tricking up, right? It's at 84.9, right? A Living of Comfort report number of 83.8. That has also been moving up. Everything is moving to where it needs to be. All right? Now, because real estate is local, let's break down into the local areas and whatnot, all right? Fountain Hills, up 16%, leading the pack at 191.8, okay? Chandler, Gilbert, Scottsdale, Cave Creek, Paradise Valley, Phoenix, Tempe, and Mesa are all in sellers markets right now. Our balanced markets, there's only 3, Glendale, Avondale, and Peoria. Everything else, buyer's market. All right, so we're looking at Goodyear, Santan Valley, Surprise, Queen Creek, Buckeye, and Maricopa. Maricopa's come up 12%. That's amazing. Right, Queen Creek, Buckeye, Maricopa to the 3 at the bottom of the pile are moving up. Surprise, still trickling down. Right. Let's see. Our losers are Paradise Valley. Rich people, they do their own thing, so we don't care about them. Avondale and Surprise, a little bit too far out there for driving. Maybe the traffic's worse. Maybe people will realize Queen Creek, Buckeye, and Maricopa is a better deal for them. That's why those things are trending up. Look at Peoria, up 20%. Right? They're the big winners because, I don't know what's going on in Peoria. That is really unusual. If there was Tempe, I'd just say Tempe's being Tempe, all right? And that's where we're at, rounding up. If I had the time and the computer software power and a couple quaints to sit there and work out the algorithms and stuff, I would love to start being able to overlay the demographics of these various cities and the household incomes of these various cities, average sales price of these various cities. And I bet you could really crunch some numbers and come up with some interesting theories based off of that. But I'm not a mathematician. I'm a prophet. So what else we got going on? That's pretty much the highlights. I had a good rant. Thank you guys very much for listening to me. You guys are my therapist, right? Like I said, Christmas and then into the New Year. So think about what I said. How are you going to make 2026 awesome for you? And what do you have to do? Don't be passive. Be active. All right? We are active agents of our own lives. In fact, if you want a way, despite all of these self-help books, I got this agent. She just keeps bringing me in books. Some of them are good. Some of them should have stayed the fortune cookie slip. All right. So anyways, long story short. All right. What are you going to do? How are you going to be an active agent of your own life? How are you going to seize command of your destiny? Right? Want a little clue? I want you to look up a term called high agency individuals. Look it up. Google it. Go down that rabbit hole for a little while. Right? Because that's something I'm going to be looking into next year. Another thing I'm going to be looking into next year, and you guys all know where I was going with this because this is a bad segue, but I'm going to be looking into watching children and pets around water, not driving into anything flooded, working my circles every day. I might even call my mom just because. I definitely need to call my mom, let her know what presents to open, which ones not to open. All right. You guys have a great weekend, and I will talk to you guys all either next week or next year.